This is the plenary hall exit plan. For guests situated at the rostrum, the nearest exits are at the north and south rostrum. For occupants at the first floor and front rows of the VIP gallery, the north, south, and main entrance exits are available. For occupants at the VIP gallery, the main entrance and north and south VIP exits are available. For occupants at the second floor gallery, there are exits available at both sides. For occupants at the third floor gallery, there are available exits at the east and west sides. In case of emergency, this is the plenary hall exit plan. For guests situated at the rostrum, the nearest exits are at the north and south rostrum. For occupants at the first floor and front rows of the VIP gallery, the north, south, and main entrance exits are available. For occupants at the VIP gallery, the main entrance and north and south VIP exits are available. For occupants at the second floor gallery, there are exits available at both sides. For occupants at the third floor gallery, there are available exits at the east and west sides.
And Committee Secretary, please acknowledge the resource persons and guests present today from the Department of Social Welfare and Development.
Magandang umaga sa lahat. The House Committee on Appropriations would like to acknowledge guests, resource persons from the Department of Social Welfare and Development, headed by its Secretary, Secretary Rex Gatchalian. We have also Yusek Adonis P. Solit, Undersecretary for Policy and Plans Group, Yusek Edward Justine Ordin, Undersecretary for General Administration and Support Services Group, Yusek Monina Josefina Romualdez, Undersecretary for Operations, Yusek Diana Rose Cahipe, Undersecretary for Disaster Response Management, Yusek Denise Florence Bernos Bragas, Undersecretary for Standard and Capacity Building, Yusek Vilma B. Cabrera, Undersecretary for Poor Peace, Yusek Eduardo M. Punay, Undersecretary for Innovations, Yusek Alan Tanhusay, Undersecretary for Inclusive and Sustainable Peace, Yusek Fatima Aliyah Dimaporo, Undersecretary for Legislative Liaison Affairs, Yusek Ruina Nina Taduran, Undersecretary for External Affairs. We have also ASEC Irene Dumlao, Assistant Secretary for Legislative and Liaison Affairs. We have also ASEC Janet M. Armas, Assistant Secretary for Standard and Capacity Building, ASEC Florentino Y. Loya, Assistant Secretary for Operations, ASEC Maria Evelyn Macapobre, Assistant Secretary for Poor Peace, Assistant Secretary Marites Maristela, Assistant Secretary for NHT SPR, ASEC Juan Carlos Marquez, Assistant Secretary for Policy and Plans Group, ASEC Janus Sidayao, Assistant Secretary for Finance, ASEC Ada Colico, Assistant Secretary for Operations, ASEC Vladir H. Brengas, Assistant Secretary for Innovations. We have also ASEC Julius Ezequiel Gorospe, the Chief Information Officer. And we also acknowledge the head of the following agencies: Executive Director Ed Angelo Tapales, Director CWC, Council for the Welfare of Children. We have also Executive Director of the National Authority for Child Care, Executive Director Hanila Estrada, Executive Director of the NCDA, Juvenile, the National Council on Disability Affairs, Executive Director Joniro D. Frajeras. We have also Executive Director Tricia Claire Oco of the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council. We have also the Secretary of the National Anti-Poverty Commission, Secretary Lupis Santos. We have also the Chairperson of the National Commission on Indigenous Peoples. We have Chair Alan Capuyan, and the Chairperson of the Presidential Commission for Urban Poor. We have Chair Elpidio Jordan Jr. Likewise, may we also acknowledge the regional directors who are present today in this briefing. Likewise, may we also acknowledge the following members present in this budget briefing. We have on the list Deputy Speaker Christine Singson Mihan. We have also Deputy Speaker Isidro T. Ungab, Minority Leader Marcelino Libanan. We have also Senior Vice Chair Stella Luz A. Kimbo, Vice Chair Jose C. Alvarez, Vice Chair Chingbe Bernos, Vice Chair Raul Angelo Gil B. Bongalon. We have also Vice Chair Jocelyn C. Lim Kaichong. We have Vice Chair Ronald Singson, Vice Chair Alfonso Umali. We have also Vice Chair James Jojo Ang. We have Representative Mark Go, Representative Edsel C. Lagman, Representative Agustina Dominic DCTC Pancho. We have Representative Arlene Brosas, Representative Loreto B. Acharon, Representative Wilfrido Mark B. Inverga. We have also Representative Raul Daniel Emanuel, Representative Jardine Jess M. Romaldo, and Representative Khaled Dimaporo. That's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, so thank you all for coming today, and most especially I would like to thank our former colleague here in Congress and now Secretary Rex Gatchalian of the DSWD and its attached agencies. No? So it is a privilege for me to once again be given the responsibility of sponsoring the DSWD's budget, as I have been doing so for previous years. And I would like also to acknowledge my co-sponsors for the DSWD budget. We have Congresswoman Rachel Arenas, Congressman Eric Yap, also a former Committee on Appropriations Chairman, Congressman Alfonso Boy Umali, Congresswoman Midi Kua for the NCIP, Congressman Ronald Singson, and Congressman Arthur Celeste. So I highly commend our good secretary for being hands-on in tackling the concerns and addressing the needs of the department. His experience as a former congressman and chief executive in the local government unit makes me optimistic that we will have a smooth sailing budget defense for DSWD. Sana. So as you all know, the proposed FY for 2024 national budget amounts to 5.768 trillion. It is 9.5 higher than the 2023 budget and is equivalent to 21.7% of our GDP. And as servants of the people, this amount of money from the taxpayers demands no less than extraordinary diligence from every official involved in the budgetary process. Social services and capacity building are without a doubt the utmost importance in protecting the marginalized and the vulnerable. While the social sector is expected to receive the highest chunk of the national budget for fiscal year 2024, with a 2.183 trillion or 37.9% of the total proposed budget, it is not only DSWD that is included in this. The sectors is composed of health, education, culture, manpower development, and social security, welfare, employment, and other social services. In particular, the DSWD has a proposed allocation of 207,366,494 pesos, or 5.44% higher than the last year's 196.67 million allocation. So in his budget, the President has identified as part of his priority program the social pension for indigent senior citizens and the Pantawid Pamilya Pilipino program of the 4Ps. I have noted here that 49.8 billion will be provided as support for our vulnerable elderly population, or almost double the amount of the current year. And this is a result of our efforts here in Congress in pushing for the enactment of Republic Act 11916, which introduced an additional 500 pesos to senior citizens' monthly pension, so bringing it up to 1,000 pesos. 4Ps has an allocation of 112.8 billion and will benefit an estimated 4.4 million households. The Protected Services for Individual and Families in Difficult Circumstances has a proposed allocation of almost 20 billion to provide financial assistance to nearly 3.9 million individuals and families. And the Sustainable Livelihood Program is to receive 5.6 billion to support household beneficiaries through the DSWD Micro Enterprise Development Track, or the Employment Facilities Track. So as we deliberate this budget, let us ensure that DSWD will be able to provide enough social protection that is responsive to reality. We must be able to justify this amount of appropriation and augment if it is necessary. It must address the needs of the public without compromising fiscal prudence. So with this, Secretary Rex Gatchalian, you may now proceed with your presentation.
Good morning, Madam Chair, to the honorable members of the Subcommittee on Social Welfare of the Committee on Appropriations. Magandang umaga ho sa inyong lahat. Before I start, I just want to put it on record that it's good to be back in the House in a different capacity. Pero iba rin ho pala yung pakiramdam na dito ka na sa side na kaupo at ikaw yung sasagot, hindi ikaw yung magtatanong. That fact is not lost in me and it still feels very surreal. Good morning to everyone. I am honored to have the opportunity to address the esteemed members of Congress, now representing an agency from the other branch of government. I'm here to present DSWD's plans, priorities, and strategies in fulfilling our mission of improving the well-being and uplifting the lives of the poor, the vulnerable, and the disadvantaged members of our society. I'm joined today by my colleagues and co-workers from the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the attached and supervised agencies. Our department is dedicated to promoting social welfare, empowerment, and social protection for all Filipinos. Our mission is deeply rooted in the values of compassion, dignity, and solidarity. We understand that our role goes beyond just providing financial assistance. It is about fostering a society where every individual, regardless of their circumstances, can thrive and contribute to the betterment of our nation. The budget we are discussing today is not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It represents the potential to make a tangible difference in the lives of countless of families and communities across the country. It enables us to implement vital programs and services that addresses poverty, hunger, nutrition, education, disaster response, and more. As we delve into the details of our proposals, I invite each of you to consider the stories and faces behind the figures. Every peso allocated has the potential to spark positive change, to always look after the best interests of the child, to provide families that means to overcome adversity, or to give our elderly citizens the care and respect they deserve. I'm ready to answer your questions and engage in constructive dialogue, how to effectively allocate our resources to maximize their impact. Your guidance, scrutiny, and collaboration are essential as we navigate the complex landscape of social welfare and development in our nation. I'll be presenting the agency's overall performance with a breakdown of the overall physical and financial performance for 2022 and the first semester of 2023. The DSWD has several programs and sub-programs under the 5 organizational outcomes indicated in the General Appropriations Act. For the purposes of this presentation, I shall prioritize the major programs, activities, and projects of the DSWD based on the amount of allotments. Thereafter, I shall present the President's budget for 2024, highlighting the overall budget proposal and then budget proposals per attached agency. I will also talk about the new programs of the Philippine government, the Philippine Food Stamp Program, as well as other programs initiatives. We also included the DSWD program under the 8-point agenda to ensure our alignment with the priorities of the President. In the following slides, we will show the physical and financial accomplishments of the DSWD in the implementation of its programs for fiscal years 2022 and 2023, both as of July 2023. This slide displays the department's overall financial accomplishment, including both the current and continuing funds. As of July 2023, we have achieved an obligation rate of 43.47% and a 30.64 disbursement rate. As will be explained later, a significant portion of the funds is dedicated to grants and subsidies. This means that the utilization rate will significantly increase once the scheduled disbursement and catch-up plans during the second semester are conducted. By the end of the year, we estimate that DSWD's disbursement rate would be around 89%, which is an equivalent of around 163 billion pesos. The next slide shows the financial accomplishment of DSWD, Office of the Secretary from 2018 to 2022, covering both the current and continuing appropriations and other releases for that particular year. The significant increase in year 2020 is due to the implementation of the Social Amelioration Program during the pandemic. At the average, our 5-year obligation rate is at 93%, while our disbursement rate is 81.29%. The following slides will focus on the major PAPs ranked by the amount of MOE allocated for each. First is the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program, or 4Ps, for fiscal year 2022. We have served 98.71% of the target beneficiaries out of a total 100 billion pesos budget allocation. 99.99% has been obligated and 89.82% has already been disbursed. For fiscal year 2023, out of the 94.338 billion pesos budget, approximately 30.74 has been obligated with a 13.46 disbursement rate. Admittedly, This is a bit low because we are in the process of completing the validation and further assessment of the 4-piece beneficiaries who were tagged as non-poor under the Listahanan tree using our tool called the Social Welfare Development Indicators, or SWD. We hope to complete the assessment process by the end of September 2023 to determine the continued eligibility of the households, whether they should be retained as active beneficiaries or they should exit the program. In case of exit, this will facilitate the integration of new beneficiaries as replacements to reach the target of 4.4 million households. Let me explain that this low utilization is a temporary state, as the DSWD is currently fast-tracking the validation of existing households who are tagged as non-poor by the recent listahanan and the registration or of replacement household to reach the 4.4 million target households by October 2023. We'll also expedite the payment for the enhanced support services intervention and facilitate payment of cash grants deficit for pay period 6 of 2017 and 2018. While we do this, it is expected that the incremental operating costs will also increase, which will mean more utilization of the funds. Based on the projected presentation, the 4.4 target will be completed by October-November pay period and will be maintained until December 2023. By then, a total of 96.55 billion, inclusive of incremental operating costs, will be obligated, which will translate to 94% utilization rate. Any unutilized amount can be attributed to the relative low number of households at the start of the year until the payment period 4 of 2023 and withholding of cash grants for households who have failed to comply with the conditionalities under the 4-Piece Act. The second PAP is social pension for indigent citizens. In 2022, the social pension program successfully served 4.052 million senior citizens, which accounts for 99.21% of the total beneficiaries. Out of the total allotment of 24.987 billion for 2022, more than 99% was obligated and disbursed. For 2023, out of the target 4.08 million beneficiaries, the DSWD was able to provide assistance to a total of 3.588 million senior citizens, which corresponds to 87.83% of the fiscal target. The payment, which is semestral in frequency, is ongoing, and we hope to cover the rest of the target beneficiaries soon. For the financial accomplishment, out of the 24.1 billion allotment, 15.03 or 62.13% has been obligated. Furthermore, 13 billion or 53.95% has already been disbursed. For protective services, the majority of funds is for assistance to beneficiaries served through the AIX program. The DSWD was able to serve 5.336 million clients, exceeding the target by 284%. For 2023, the program has already served 2.36 million clients, which represent 139% of its target. Obligation rate is at around 40.88%, and disbursement is at 36.63%. There has been a challenge in utilization of the capital outlay as the procurement for the construction of a building has resulted to a failure of bidding. For the Sustainable Livelihood Program, a total of 240,668 households, representing 125% of the annual fiscal target, has been served in 2022. Out of the 4.3 billion budget, 99.92% was obligated and 98.81% has been disbursed. For fiscal year 2023, the program has undergone a review and is now implementing new guidelines, which has resulted in an initial fiscal accomplishment of 2.85%. However, despite the ongoing challenges, 30.23% of the 5.896 billion allotment has already been obligated, with a commitment to utilize the remaining funds within the year. With the new guidelines, the balance of 2.695 billion allocated for SLP grants is projected to be fully utilized by end of October, as 1.263 billion has been allocated in August, 679 million in September, and the remaining 753 million in October. Specifically, the utilization will be spurred as a result of the following: continued coordination with partners for the fast tracking of approval of partnership agreements, repurposing of livelihood settlement grants for former rebels to in conflict areas, vulnerable areas. The Field Office 1, 3, 8, and 12 have already coordinated and agreed with the Regional Task Force, or LCAC, ECLIP Committee, and other concerned agencies that if there will be no endorsements of former rebels until August 31, hence the LSG funds will be repurposed to other CVAS and fast-tracking of approval or proposal at the regional level. Next is the supplemental feeding program. The 12th cycle covered by the recent concluded school year 2022-2023 achieved a 99.80% of its 1.936 million targets as of July 31, 2023. It is expected that the 3,949 children will be serviced by this quarter to complete the 120 days feeding cycle. Moving forward, the 13th cycle, which covers the school year 2023-2024, the feeding program is set to begin in September 2023 in accordance to the school calendar. It is expected that the obligation and disbursement of funds will increase as the funds are downloaded to LGUs, National Dairy Authority, and Philippine Carabao Center. Further, payment to suppliers of field offices that conducted regional procurement will commence upon delivery of commodities to the LGU. Next is the provision of services to our clients in residential and non-residential care facilities. Out of the 2022 budget, the program has served 82.44% of its target clients, disbursed 90.40% of its 1.334 billion allocation for MOE. For 2023, a total of 7,153 clients were catered. Of the 1.38 billion allotment, 810 million or 58.61 was obligated. We are expediting the procurement of 48 million 2022 appropriation and 1.1 billion capital outlay for CRCF. We expect to obligate and disburse the amount in the next 5 months. Next is DSWD's Disaster Response and Rehabilitation Program. For fiscal year 2022, a total of 5,399 or 105.9% of the target, 5,098 DSWD QRT members were trained for deployment on disaster response. This overperformance is primarily attributed to the flexibility of some training activities conducted in hybrid setup, wherein participating office sent additional trainees. In the same period, a total of 405,334 or 101.5% of the target poor families were provided assistance for community works, rendered and training participated under the Risk Resiliency Program through cash for work and training. The increase in beneficiaries served in the fiscal accomplishment over target was due to additional targets from regional offices with additional fund augmentation from the central office allotment. Overall, the DRRP fund, we have obligated 99% and disbursed 92.54% of the 2.025 billion allotment for MOE. The capital outlay procurement activities are ongoing, which are targeted to be completed by 2023. For 2023, a total of 2,242 DSWD QRT members were trained for deployment on disaster response. This represents a 90.1% of the total target of 2,400 QRT members trained for the year. In the same period, a total of 76,554 poor families were provided with assistance for community work rendered for trainings participated under the RRP CFWT. This represents 20.2% of the target 379,104 family beneficiaries served for the year. May I note that the first semester of the year is programmed for social preparation, while disbursement of grants are targeted for the third and fourth quarter. In terms of fund utilization, we have obligated 908 million or 39.22% and disbursed 30.79% or 713.49 million of the total amount of 2.31 billion allotment for DRRP. To expedite program implementation and utilization of DRRP funds, there will be continuous monitoring and provision of technical assistance to its field offices and implementing local government units under the Risk Resilience Program to ensure timely implementation of activities as planned. As for the utilization of the allotment for capital outlay, a request for a change of purpose from procurement of mobile kitchen to purchase of vehicles instead shall be facilitated with a target disbursement by December 2023. Next is our provision for technical assistance and resource augmentation program, which advances the functionality or service delivery level of local social welfare and development offices, as well as frontline service providers. For 2022, 100% of the target LGUs were served and 99.98% of the budget was obligated, while the disbursement rate is at 93.53. In the semester of 2023, 1,441 local government units were provided with technical assistance and 601 local government units were provided with resource augmentation. Additionally, 76.66 million was obligated, or around 53.65% of the allotment. I'll now take the opportunity to present the proposed 2024 budget. The budget for DSWD is 207 billion or 368 million 207,368,494,000. Of the total proposal, MOOE has 95% allotment, followed by personal services at 5%, capital outlay of less than 1%. The budget is broken down as follows in this slide. 10.4 billion pesos of personal services, 196.3 billion pesos for MOOE. The increase is mostly attributed to social pension and the inclusion of the new Philippine Food Stamp Program. The capital outlay in fiscal year 2024 amounting to 354 million will be used for the procurement of needed ICT equipment and software. 160,439 million pesos is for the retirement and life insurance premium, or RLIP. We want to highlight that the department has embarked on new flagship programs for the department. The Food Stamp Program, or the Walang Gutom 2027, is one of them. The Walang Gutom 2027 Food Stamp Program aims to decrease incidents of involuntary hunger experienced by low-income households and make them productive citizens of the country. In addition, pregnant and lactating women have also been included in this said program. Through a whole-of-nation approach, the program aims to provide monetary-based assistance in the form of an electronic benefit card that will be loaded with food credits amounting to 3,000 pesos to purchase from a selected list of food commodities from partner merchants and stores. For the pilot implementation, at least 3,000 households who belong to the lowest income decile of Listahanan 3 shall be selected as pilot beneficiaries. The target areas, as recommended by the World Food Program, it has low safety and security risks for personnel and proximity to the nearest accessible location where personnel and supplies could easily be transported. The program is in collaboration with partner merchants such as small and medium enterprises, supermarkets, and mga kadiwa ng Pangulo, among others. The EBT cards can be used to purchase various food items as recommended by the Food and Nutrition Institute. In anticipation to the identification of the food stamp digital platform, the DSWD will adapt the Scope, a web-based application developed by the World Food Program used for beneficiary registration, intervention setups, distribution planning, transfers, and distribution reporting. For 2094, the target in the NEP is 300,000 beneficiaries selected from the 1 million food poor households from Listahanan 3. It is noteworthy to point out that the entire pilot will be funded by an ADB grant to the tune of $3 million. This is the sample food basket for the commodities that can be availed using the EBT. The FSP, or the Food Stamp Program, has 5 key features. Targeted, government resources are limited, thus we must ensure that the assistance we provide goes to the proper beneficiaries. Conditional, we don't want to create another dole-out program. As such, we develop mechanisms to ensure that a beneficiary will eventually graduate from the program to prevent welfare dependency. Measurable, we will use the Listahanan or the CBMS coming in next year, which is mandated to conduct household assessments every 3 years or 4 years to evaluate the well-being of beneficiaries if it is improved over time. Whole-of-nation approach, real and positive impact can only be achieved through the convergence of programs of the government and the private sector. Digital, and as per the directive of the President, it will be digital for transparency, efficiency, and ease of use. Upon my assumption into office in February, we have endeavored to innovate existing programs and implement new projects, one of which is the Tarab Basa Tutoring Program funded by the Kalahi Seeds KKB. This is a holistic social welfare and development model that creates a learning ecosystem where college students will be capacitated and deployed as tutors and youth development workers. As tutors, they will teach children who are struggling to read or are non-readers. The youth development workers will conduct parenting sessions with parents or guardians on the care of protection of children and guide them to be the first teachers at home or the nanay-tatay teacher. This program is a reformatting of the educational assistance of the department and is on its pilot run. As of August 8, 2023, the DSWD together with DepEd has trained 3,989 tutors out of the 6,388 target tutors. This is currently being piloted in partnership with the universities listed above. Next on our innovation program is Oplan Pag-abot. The Pag-abot program is a convergence of PAPs of the department, such as the protective services for individuals and families in difficult circumstances, comprehensive program for street children, services in residential care facilities, and the Kalahi Seeds, to complement each other of families in a more holistic approach. Prior to the conduct of the actual reach-out profiling of individuals and families in street situation is being conducted round the clock by the Oplan Pag-abot team. During the reach-out operation, individuals and families were admitted to the designated processing center where meals and antigens are provided and administered. The Oplan Pag-abot social workers also perform intake and assessment. Appropriate interventions were determined, processed, and provided. Furthermore, biometrics and photo capturing are being facilitated at the processing center to support the issuance of Pag-abot identification cards to individuals and families living in street situation that were reached out. Case management using a multidisciplinary approach is conducted to ensure the provision of aftercare services towards the full reintegration of clients in the community. The following slides will show where the DSWD plays a key role in achieving the President Bongbong Marcos's 8-point socio-economic agenda. Under the agenda of ensuring food security, the Enhanced Partnership Program Against Hunger and Poverty will contribute to the national government's effort in addressing hunger and poverty through synergy and convergence of essential services of participating EPA partners directly benefiting the poor sector of the country. To ensure that we address the challenges in health, specifically the issue of nutrition, the Philippine Multi-Sectoral Nutrition Project, which is a project co-implemented with the Department of Health, is envisioned to increase the simultaneous utilization of a package of nutrition-specific and nutrition-sensitive intervention programs to improve behaviors and practices known to reduce stunting in targeted local government units. Under the agenda or strengthening social protection, the following programs and projects will boost the country's human capital and reduce poverty and vulnerability of our people, especially the poor and marginalized. Among these are the National Household Targeting System for Poverty Reduction, Pantawid sa Pamilya Program, Sustainable Livelihood Program, and the Kalay Seeds Program modalities. To continue, the services for residential and care-based clients, supplementary feeding program, social pension for indigent senior citizen, implementation of the Centenarian Act, protective services for individuals and families in difficult circumstances, which includes the AICS, Assistance to Persons with Disability, comprehensive project for street children, street families, and IPs, especially the Badjaos, the Bangon Project. Included are also the following social protection programs for adolescent mothers and their children, services to displaced people or the deportees, recovery and reintegration program for trafficked persons, disaster response and rehabilitation program, national resource operation, quick response fund, and the implementation of the Pamana program lodged under the department. The following slides will show the project budget proposal of the 3 supervised agencies and 4 attached agencies of the DSWD. The proposed budget, including the attached agencies, is 209,927,561,000. This slide shows the breakdown per attached agency and supervised agencies. The details will be in the next slides. For attached and supervised agencies, it is worth noting that most of them have decrease of budget for 2024. Only PCUP and NCIP have minimal increases in their budget. Shown here is the summary of financial performance of the 7 attached agencies and supervised agencies for fiscal year 2022 as of July 31, 2023. The next slide shows On the other hand, the financial performance of the first semester of fiscal year 2023. In closing, I'd like to express my gratitude to the members of the House of Representatives for this opportunity to present our budget proposal. Your attention to the matters of social welfare and development reflects a shared commitment to the well-being of our fellow Filipinos. We in DSWD remain steadfast in our mission to uplift the lives of those who are most in need. We recognize that our responsibility extends far beyond the confines of a fiscal year or a budgetary cycle. Our dedication to creating a society that values the dignity and potential of every individual continues to drive our efforts. As we move forward, we are ready to engage in meaningful discussion, and we will take your insights, questions, suggestions to heart. We understand that the challenges we face are complex, and our solutions must be equally nuanced. Your partnership in this endeavor is invaluable, and together we can make a lasting impact on the lives of the marginalized and vulnerable. I assure you that the DSWD, under my watch, will be diligent in executing the budget allocations to achieve the goals we have discussed today. We will be transparent in our actions, ensuring that the resources entrusted to us are used efficiently and effectively for the betterment of our nation. Thank you once again for your time, attention, and dedication to the welfare of our people. Magandang umaga, maraming salamat ho.
Thank you very much, Secretary Rex, and we also look forward to working with you, and I see a lot of new initiatives which this Congress is also very much willing to support.
Madam Chair.
Okay, Congressman Edsel Lagman.
Madam Chair, just a short manifestation. On behalf of the 1st District of Albay and the province of Albay, I wish to thank Secretary Rex Gatchalian and the DSWD family for immediate and continuing assistance to the Mayon evacuees, thousands of whom are still in evacuation centers because of the continuing volcanic aberration of the majestic Mayon volcano. I would like also to take this opportunity to commend Regional Director Norman Laurio for a splendid performance from the first day of the calamity, together with his regional and provincial staffs and the LGU counterparts. Madam Chair, calamities become more bearable with the laudable and seasonable assistance of concerned and consensus government officials and personnel. I would like to take this opportunity also to manifest my full support to the proposed budgets of the DSWD and its attached agencies, except NCIP. Thank you, Madam Chair, for this opportunity to manifest my thanks and support. Maraming salamat.
Thank you very much, Kong Edsel, and your comments and manifestation is well noted. Anybody else who
Madam
wish
Chair.
to make a manifestation?
Madam Chair, I'd like to also register
Okay, go
that,
ahead, Secretary.
the manifestation of in behalf of the DSWD, we sincerely appreciate the manifestation of the gentleman from Albay, and rest assured that we will continue to strive to provide for the immediate needs of our evacuees from Mayon. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Anybody else who wish? Okay, Congressman Isidro Unga.
Madam Chairperson, Madam Chairman, just an inquiry. We usually afford special courtesy here for former members of the House. Secretary Rex is a member of the Congress, 19th Congress, and my colleague in the 14th, 15th Congress, and 16th Congress. So matagal-tagal din natin kasama dito. Shall we go through the process of hearing his budget? Ang ma-remember ko, the standing tradition here is that we do not ask questions for a former member of the House, at saka for a co-equal branch of government, like the Office of the President, OVP, at saka yung judiciary. We usually do not ask questions anymore. So, tatanong ko lang po if possible ba that we just proceed with the question and answer pagdating na sa plenary.
We're moving to that, Congressman Unga, but may we hear from the Vice Chair,
Yes.
Ronald Singson. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Well, as part of the long-standing tradition, as Congressman Ungab has been saying, tradition and practice of the House of Representatives and the Committee on Appropriations to extend parliamentary courtesy to a former member appointed to a cabinet position in his first appearance to present the budget of his or his department. Mr. Chairman, may I move that we terminate the budget briefing?
Mr. Chair, I would like to raise a point of order. Because I understand tradition. And I have no objection with the tradition. Actually, I welcome it. But last budget briefing, linoko mo kami. Supposedly, we let the budget pass in the budget briefing, and then us, who have issues that are not resolved, are allowed to ask questions in the plenary against the Committee on Appropriations. However, last budget, we have been advised by our majority leader na let's, as much as possible, not ask questions in the plenary. That is the problem we have with this tradition. Papasa namin sila, and then bawal magtanong sa plenary. I have no problems just as long as I can do my job as the 1st District Representative of Lanao del Norte to speak on behalf of my constituency. But since I will not be allowed to speak on behalf of my constituency, I will place it on the record in the form of my point of order so that Secretary Rex can hear it, that the MILF have not been decommissioned in the province of Lanao del Norte. And in the last Congress, when we discussed it with the MILF leaders, ang sinabi nila, ang may kasalanan is DSWD. DSWD is very slow in doing the case studies. So I would like clarification on this, and I will not bring it up here in the budget briefing in favor of tradition, and I will not bring it up in the plenary in support of our majority, but instead I will talk to the Secretary personally, but I would like this placed on the record so my constituents in the province of Lanao del Norte can hear and can see that we are trying to do our very best to ensure that peace will prevail under the BBM administration. Thank you, Mr.
That's well noted, Congressman
Madam Chairperson.
Damaporo. And if you need more time, you can always request for an audience with the Secretary.
Madam Chairman, we respect and we understand the situation of the Honorable Dimaporo, but he already stated that all his comments are already included in the point of order, and we thank the Honorable Dimaporo for accepting that, yes, there is a tradition. And just to inform this body, Secretary Rex is also the colleague of your father, si Bobby, kasama namin sa 14th Congress. And I was just raising this because this has been a long-standing practice, a long-standing tradition in the House of Representatives. But that doesn't, of course, exclude members who wish to make a manifestation. But yung ating tradition naman is on the question and answer. We usually allow that nung first termer pa ako, second termer. In fact, I remember my colleague, Congressman Lagman, used to be chairman of the appropriations. Chairperson, Josie Lim Kai Chong was my chairperson of the Committee on Appropriations in the 15th Congress. And we allowed that in the so many years that is the history of this committee. So, yun lang po. I just, the gentleman from Marawi has raised a point of order, so I think the chairperson has to rule on that point of order also.
Madam Chair,
To make it clear, Mr. Chair, I have said what I needed to say, so I withdraw my point of order. And I support the motion of the chair, whatever it so may be.
So, Madam Chair, since the point of order has been withdrawn, we request now the chairperson to rule on my request to proceed or not with the request for parliamentary courtesy to...
Madam Chair, before we vote on the motion,
Wait, there's no motion yet. We will ask Vice Chair Singson to proceed with the motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair, if I may proceed, because I was about to make the motion. And now, Mr. Chairman, may I move that we terminate the budget
Ay, Madam
meeting?
Chair.
Madam Chair, may I comment?
Madam Chair, I object. Madam Chair.
Yeah, can I make the motion first before you object? Because there's nothing to object yet. I haven't made the motion. So, Mr. Chair,
terminating na
Mr. Chairman, may I move that we terminate the budget briefing of the Department of Social Welfare Development and its attached agencies. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
I object,
Do I
Mr.
hear
Chair.
any motion? So there's a motion here to object.
second the motion.
Madam Chair, before we act on the motion,
Yes,
I'd like to
Congressman
put
Romualdez.
on record and manifest to support the manifestation of the Honorable Edsel Lagman for the determination of the SWD budget, except NCIP, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
We will accept.
So,
Madam Chair.
may I comment?
May I comment, Madam Chair?
okay, let me recognize first Congresswoman Fans Castro.
So with due respect to our distinguished colleague, DS, so nag-object po tayo dahil although we respect the tradition of our of the House or the Congress, pero ito lang po yung panahon, Madam Chair, na pwede tayong makapagtanong personally doon sa mga agencies, especially the head of the agency. I have no personal na whatever. Pero sana magampanan din naman natin yung trabaho natin kasi ito lang yung panahon na tayo ay ito lang kasi yung panahon na makakapagtanong tayo. So kung wini-waive ng majority yung kanilang chance na magtanong, so yung minority, we have, kasi sinabi naman din ni Speaker, di ba, prioritize yung mga minority na gustong magtanong. So, nirerespeto po natin yung tradisyon, pero dapat din bigyan tayo ng pagkakataon na makapagtanong. Anyway, ito naman po ay para din dun sa ating mga policy, yung may kinalaman sa constituents, etc. I think naman, willing din naman ang ating former colleague, Secretary Rex Gatchalian, to answer some of our questions. Thank you,
Yes,
Madam Chair.
Congresswoman, we're getting there, and there's a motion to object the termination, but so Congressman Singson, would you do a
Madam
another
Chair,
motion?
Madam Chair,
In view of that, hold on, please. Excuse me. In view of that, I withdraw my motion for approval pending the.
I wish to interpolate,
the
Madam
motion
Chair.
to terminate, and we will listen to the objections.
Yes, so there's a motion to withdraw his motion to terminate, and at this point, we will accommodate the minority members to proceed with their questions or interpellation.
Madam Chairman, this is not an objection to the objection, but I'd just like to manifest that these questions that was being allowed to accommodate the minority should not set a precedent as to the objection to the tradition, practice of this House. The tradition still goes on. And as I have said earlier, we usually allow some manifestations if they would want to do so. What I mean is that this House is getting stronger through our traditions. I beg to disagree to say that sometimes the tradition will need to be changed or so whatsoever. So I believe that I just want to manifest that if this committee will allow questions, this should not set a precedent to change the tradition of the House that we give due parliamentary courtesy to former members of this body who joins the executive department. Thank you.
That's duly noted, Congressman Ungab. So right now, we are giving actually preferential treatment to our minority members. So for their manifestation, so we start with Representative Marisa Magsino. And yes, we have 3 interpellators from the minority, and I would like to state this. Representative Marisa Magsino, Deputy Minority Leader Franz Castro, and Representative Raul Manuel. And after that, we will now move for the termination. And Arlene as well. Arlene, sorry, Congresswoman Arlene. And then after that, we will move for the termination of the...
Minority lang.
So may we call on Representative Marisa Magsino?
Yes, thanks so much, Madam Chair. Congratulations, Secretary Rex Gatchalian, for a well-deserved and wonderful organized presentation. It's very comprehensive. Being an assistant minority leader, I have to do our job. So this is just a clarification from the OFW party list, Mr. Secretary. The DSWD ay meron pong programa, yung social welfare for distressed overseas Filipinos and trafficked persons. Being the representative of the OFW party list, ito po yung aking programa na obvious na interesado ako. Noong 2022 po, ang budget allocation for the program was 174,059,059. Noong naman pong 2023, na-reduce po ito sa 80,908. A staggering decrease po ito ng 46.48, so bumaba po ito. Again, sa 2024 naman po, ang proposed budget para sa programa, na-reduce na naman po sa 74,952 or decrease of 7.4%. Ang tanong ko po, ano ang reason sa consistent decrease sa funding ng programa, especially from 2022 to 2023? Yung po ba ay dahil sa epekto ng COVID-19 in terms of repatriated OFWs, or ito pong 2022 at 2023, period na po kasi ito ng recovery from the pandemic, at saka marami na po na-repatriate from their host countries. Dapat po, nag-open pa po ito ng more doors of opportunity sa pagtulong sa ating mga OFWs. I hope hindi po nada-downplay yung significance ng recurrence incidents ng human trafficking at abuses committed po against our OFWs. Ang tanong po, may I be provided the data on the following indicators ng programa po natin ng 2022 for the first half of 2023? First, yung number po of distressed undocumented or traffic OFWs provided po ng inyong opisina sa DSWD with our social welfare services. At number 2, yung number po ng OFWs na integrated by DSWD to their families and communities. Very important po ito sa akin dahil ito po ang sektor na nire-represent ko, Mr. Secretary.
Madam Chair, thank you. Before I start, I would like to put it also on record that the department and I myself will make myself available to the good Congressman Dimaporo for his to clarify and to make sure that his concerns are addressed. The good Congressman has a point, and we will see to it that all of those details are addressed in my capacity as Secretary. Now, in pursuant to the questions of the good Congresswoman Magsinok, Madam Chair, hihiwalayin ko ho kasi the question is lumped. When it comes to distressed overseas Filipino workers, that was segregated and given to the DMW already. So meaning, anything pertaining to distressed overseas Filipino workers, unti-unti na hong nailipat, including our polo officers. All of those functions have been given to DMW because of their the creation of a new department together with its new mandate. So we will gladly furnish you the data that you want to show that while our budget has been decreasing when it comes to dealing with distressed overseas Filipino workers, the DMW has been assuming that responsibility to include the reintegration of distressed OFWs. Now, on a second note, hiniwalay ko ho naman yung usapin ng trafficking. That's a very different field altogether. The trafficking budget of the department still stands what it is, as I mentioned, but that is into the reintegration of victims. When it comes to the prosecutorial, the law enforcement side of it, we are all part of the IACAT, or the interagency body that deals with such issues, but it's been segmented. The prosecutorial, the law enforcement side have been given to the DOJ, while the reintegration, the rehabilitation, reintegration, and of the victims of human trafficking ang nasa amin naman po. Likewise, we will gladly furnish your office a copy of the said budget for reintegration that is embedded in the DSWD.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Yes. Maraming salamat, Secretary. Mr. Secretary, the very reason why I'm asking this, because we, the OFW party list, is only receiving what is our regular budget. And to think, kami po ay party list, kami po ay nationwide at buong mundo. So the very measly budget that we are receiving is not enough for our constituents. Ngayon po, Mr. Secretary, as representative ng OFW party list, ang mga senior citizens po natin ay meron pong special place sa ating advocacy. Dahil for every Filipino family, definitely na OFW, may member po ito na senior citizen. Yung respect po dito sa ating mga DSW allocation for the senior citizens, meron po tayong 25,296,496 for the social pension of indigent senior citizens to be used po sa pagbabayad ng 500 monthly stipend para sa ating mga senior citizen. Ang proposed budget po for 2024, na-increase po ito ng 49,807,085 owing sa increase po ng monthly stipend from 500 pesos to 1,000 pesos per senior citizen. However, ito pong 2023, ang DSW also has an unprogrammed fund under the Special Purpose Fund in the amount of 25 billion pesos. Also, for the social pension of indigent senior citizen. Ang tanong po, can the department confirm this? And am I correct that two funds I mentioned for the social pension of indigent senior citizens are two separate and distinct funds po? Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, first of all, we share the sentiment of Congressman Magsinok that we really have to take care of our senior citizens. For the incoming year, the budget was doubled because we are now going to implement, and everything has been programmed. The entire 1,000 pesos for the 4 million plus senior citizens have been programmed. But this year, it is not distinct, but rather, like other unprogrammed funds, there is a special provision in the budget that it can only go through the department once the following has been met. A, excess revenues. B, new revenue collections. And C, approved loans from foreign assisted projects. If I can give an analogy, parang may gas tank and we are waiting for the gas to come down. But yung gasolina na ipapasok sa gas tank natin para mapatakbo yung programa ay naaayon doon sa mga binasa ko ho that are provisions of the GAA.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So, Mr. Secretary, I'm fully aware na meron po itong provision sa ating pong utilization. Kung ang DSWD po dineclare that they are availment of the unprogrammed fund ng social pension for indigent senior citizens due to the conditions for this use, bakit po nagamit ng DSWD ang unprogrammed funds sa kapit-bisig laban sa kahirapan and for support for infrastructure projects and social program in the amount of 24 million 434,831 as reflected po sa budgetary adjustments po ninyo ng 2022. Madam Chair.
First of all, Madam Chair, first of all, that is correct, meron ho tayong mga bagay na dapat ma-fulfill, and it is not the department who will declare na may availability of funds, but rather DBM. Now, when it comes to Kapit Bisig or Kalahi Seeds, it falls under letter C. These are pre-approved foreign assistant projects. Years ago na ho tong Kalahi Seeds. If I'm not mistaken, it's more than a couple of decades already. So the loan profile is there. So meaning it satisfies letter C. But that loan is only for Kalahi Seeds. And that's why kaya ho natin, meron hong unprogrammed na dinideclare ang DBM for this program called Kalahi Seeds.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, ang truth po, DSWD can use the unprogrammed funds even without complying sa required condition po nito. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. Let me just again reiterate. One, it's DBM that will say if the unprogrammed fund, there are available unprogrammed funds for specific sub-projects of the department. But in this case po, nagkaroon ng readjustment for Kalahi Seeds because there is a back-to-back loan that is funding Kalahi Seeds. So for that particular project, meron po ng available funds, and DBM downloaded it to the department based on the loan provisions that we contracted with the World Bank to finance Kalahi Seeds. But for the senior citizen po, wala pa hong available funds. In fact, I went to see the good secretary of DBM, and she's also very sympathetic to the plight of our senior citizens. So she was hoping that A, baka magkaroon ng excess revenues, B, magkaroon ng new revenue collections. And we are still hopeful na sana this coming Burr months magkaroon po.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you very much. Now, let's move on to Deputy Minority Leader Franz Castro.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Magandang umaga po, Secretary Rex Gatchalian, my former mayor. Actually, na-miss na kita, Mayor. Anyway, siguro hindi naman ito kailangan sagutin ng Secretary o ng DSWD, pero tatanungin ko din ito sa Office of the President. So nabigla ako dun, siguro tatanungin, first muna, totoo po ba na merong 10 USECs and 21 ASECs sa ngayon sa DSWD?
Madam Chair, let me just put it in proper context. Yes, there are 10 USECs and there are 20 ASECs. We are currently in the process of streamlining some more, and we seek the indulgence of the Office of the President and our good Congresswoman so that we are in the process of realigning the functions of the department. But let me also just point out that the department had 11 undersecretaries, and that of the 11, these were all funded and went through the proper process as stated. But again, we are in the process of streamlining, realigning our functions to see to it that we are compliant with all the provisions of the mandate of the department.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Kasi nabigla lang ako, no? 10 USECs. O sabi niyo po, 11 dati, naging 10. 21 ASECs. Kasi parang ito lang yung agency na may ganon karaming mga ASECs and USECs. Parang, kumbaga, sa laki, no? Mas malaki ang DepEd kung sakali. At napakalaki nito na mga executives. Dahil kung akong titingin po, dapat mas magandang maibigay po natin yung pondo para doon sa mga talagang nasa ground na magtatrabaho, yung mga social worker. So, kailan po natin maasahan, Madam Chair, Mr. Secretary, yung inyong pong pag-aaral on streamlining?
Madam Chair, we're currently doing it. But let me also point out that in the family of departments, the DSWD has one of the largest bureaucracy to manage. We have 34,000 employees as we speak, and bureaucracy, and it also manages probably one of the largest pagdating sa MOOE and grants. And we run multiple programs in the department. Yes, we are working on streamlining. Second, we also want to put into account those details that we run a very big bureaucracy and we run multiple programs, but rightfully so, we will review and we are currently reviewing it already.
Okay, so I remember also that the DSWD has the largest number of JOs and COs. So have you made them permanent na or regular? So what is your plan? So that yung iba nating mga JOs and COs ay ma-permanent na po?
Madam Chair, Congresswoman Castro is correct. In fact, that is one of the pressing issues that we went to work with nung pumasok kami sa departamento. If I'm not mistaken, around 65%, correct? Of our, 65 ba? Yeah. Around, a big chunk of our employees are contract of service, and we sympathize with them. We continue to make representations with the Department of Budget and Management so that we can be accorded and allotted more regular positions so that we can make sure that those hardworking employees become regular employees of the department.
Kasi Madam Chair, Mr. Secretary, when we had the briefing kasi with the DBCC, sabi nila it's up for the department to request. Ang dami pong mga unfilled position, it's up for them to request yung mga kinakailangan.
Madam Chair, we have continuously made representations, but we also understand that because of the tight fiscal space, hindi ho lahat na pagbibigyan. We get some from time to time, but unfortunately, hindi ho enough to cover for all our deserving job order or contract of service employees. But rest assured, Madam Chair, that we will continue to strive to make our workers, to provide security of tenure to our workers, especially those that have been with the department for quite some time already, in providing specialized services in our care facilities, in running the 4-piece program. We sympathize with them, and we will continue to work on that notion.
Just inform din, Madam Chair, Mr. Secretary, no, meron din tayong pending na bill dito, no, para ma-permanent yung ating mga JOs and COs. So may ganun po na bill. Anyway, I'll go on to my next. Tungkol ito, Madam Chair, sa aerial bombings and the impact to the children. Nitong mga nakaraan, sunod-sunod yung aerial bombings na sa iba't ibang probinsya, tulad sa Kalinga, Oriental Mindoro, at marami pa na nagdulot ng pagkasira sa mga tahanan, paaralan at kapaligiran. There were approximately 6 to 9 bombs that exploded 100 to 200 meters away from Gawaan Elementary School and its nearby mountains on March 9, 2023. At that time, 60 elementary students from grade 1 to 6 were taking classes. Alam ba ito ng Department of Social Service and Development, Madam Chair?
Madam Chair, Congresswoman Castro, first off the bat, I don't have that data if our field office knows, but I would not be surprised if they do. I can get that data from you and provide your office accordingly. But let me also point out that the social welfare is devolved. The first line of defense will always be the MSWDs or the CSWDs. They have more foot on the ground, they have more boots on the ground. Remember, the DSWD cannot be omnipresent in all the municipalities and cities. We wish we could, but ang una ho talaga is the City Social Welfare and Development Office and the Municipal Social Welfare and Development Officers. They're in charge of the first to interact with their constituents. But the department does not preclude us providing logistical support as well if we have the necessary people on the ground. But we will look into that matter and provide you a full report whether or not alam na po kung alam yan ng department. But I'm sure alam po yan ng local government units concerned, and I'm sure that they provided the necessary interventions to make sure that the psychosocial well-being of the child is put on top of the list.
Yes. Natin to, Mr. Secretary, kasi hindi lang ito nangyayari sa ilang lugar at nangyayari yan sa iba pa ring mga lugar. And I know naman, very quick ang DSWD pag binigay natin yan sa national government. Kahit na devolved na yung function, ay kinikilusan pa rin natin. So asahan ko, Mr. Chair, no, yung report kaugnay nito, yung nagawa ng local DSWD doon sa mga nabanggit kong lugar. Kasi concern natin kasi yung mga bata.
Madam Chair, just as a rejoiner, let me just reiterate that in those far-flung areas or GIDA areas, we normally don't have boots on the ground. Kasi napakalawak ho ng Pilipinas para magkaroon ho kami ng presence in every municipality or city. But what we do though is to capacity build our LGUs, especially those social workers nila, to make sure that they have the necessary tools or skill sets to be able to respond to these type of needs. We also regulate them and make sure that they are following the standards. As you saw ho kanina, one of these slides that I showed you was the capacity building slide where we have a very good utilization rate and a very good obligation rate. What we will provide you will be the report of our field office on those said bombings and to make sure that we incorporate the actions taken by the local social welfare and development offices that we have been capacity building.
Madam Chair and Mr. Secretary, about adolescent mothers naman po, budget. Tumaas po yung bilang ng mga kabataan na nabubuntis. According to DOH, 2,299 girls aged 10 to 14 gave birth in 2021. So napansin natin na wala yatang proposed budget for 2024 para sa social protection program ng mga adolescent mothers and their children. Totoo po ba ito? Pwede po bang maipaliwanag?
Madam Chair, there is an appropriated budget for this, although mas maliit lang nga siya than what we desired. It is lodged under the Protect Teen, psychosocial support and other interventions for adolescent mother and their families. Ang cumulative ho nito will be around 10 million pesos. Maliit po sa laki ng problema admittedly, and we would seek the help of Congress in hopefully augmenting this. But we also know that this is a multi-pronged approach. It is a multi-agency approach. When you look at the issues of teenage pregnancy, we have to look at, Madam Chair, the entirety of it. That not just one department is working on it, but other departments like the Department of Health and the other attached agencies of the respective departments are also looking into this. So it may sound small, but I know that if we put it together in a bigger macro point of view where all the departments working on teenage pregnancy are put side by side, I would assume that there would be a significant investment being made to this.
Yes, thank you. Nandun pala sa Social Protection Program for Adolescent Mothers and their Children. And 10 million, tama po kayo, 10 million. Maliit po ito, kaya susuportahan po ng kinatawang ito yung pagdaragdag ng budget para po dito. So, thank you po. So, next, about the solo parents. So, alam natin, Madam Chair, Mr. Secretary, yung mga solo parents, may batas po tayo under the LGU po yung responsible dito. So, are you monitoring po how is this law being implemented?
Actually, Madam Chair, the department has been working closely with the Department of Interior and Local Government on this matter. In fact, one of the primary authors, Senator Hontiveros, has been checking on us regularly. On the side of the DSWD, again, we are pushing the DILG and working with the DILG to come up with the memo circulars addressed to the LGUs on the guidelines on crafting when to start implementing this. Madam Chair, Congressman Castro, I just want to put also as a footnote, being a former local chief executive, it will always be subject to availability of funds. We don't want to raise too much expectations, but I know that there are numerous LGUs out there who want to work on their solo parent programs, who already are working on the solo parent programs. So together with the DILG, we are awaiting the final guidelines to LGUs to be issued by the DILG, and correspondingly, we will be working and monitoring and capacity building our local government units in dealing and crafting with programs for solo parents.
So ideally, Madam Chair, yung 1,000 na ibibigay nating ayuda para sa mga solo parents, that is with the LGU. Okay, so alam naman natin yung financial problem kung sakali ng mga LGUs. So merong halimbawa, Madam Chair, sa mga solo parent, yung parental leave, educational benefits, 10% VAT discounts on baby's milk, supplement, etc. Yung iba kasi, Madam Chair, Mr. Secretary, hindi nakakatanggap ng ganito. So baka pwedeng ma-monitor natin din para, di ba, gusto natin na maging sustainable at maging malusog yung ating mga babies at ang ating mga mothers. So are you having a monitoring scheme kaugnay po dito sa mga binanggit ko na benefits.
Madam Chair,
Excuse me, that will be your last question.
Madam Chair, again, it's a loaded, fully multi-prong menu that the good congressman read out. Yun that stuck out to me would be the leaves and all that monetary, non-monetary work-based incentives. Unfortunately, those are Department of Labor and Employment issues. But what I can assure the good congressman, Madam Chair, is we will see to it that when it comes to social protection, coming in with other type of interventions, outside the workplace, the department is already doing it and will continue to do it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Before we proceed to the next interpellator, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our minority leader, Congressman Marcelino Libanan of 4Ps. So go ahead, Congressman Raul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Secrex, and to the whole DSWD family. Ang unang tanong ko po, Madam Chair, ay address sana sa NAPC. So, to any, or the officials of NAPC. Tanong ko po, Madam Chair, ano ang posisyon ng NAPC kung magpapataw ng dagdag na mga buwis na maapektuhan yung ating mga mahihirap na mga pamilya?
Chair, I will yield the floor to the NAPC Secretary, Lope Santos is around.
Yes, you're recognized, Secretary Lopez Santos. Yes.
Magandang umaga po, Madam Chair, Mr. Secretary. Sa punto po ng mga usapin ng ganito, ito po ay pinag-uusapan po ng komisyon at kasama po dito sa talakayan ang mga batayang sektor bago po gumawa ng posisyon. Subalit, klaro naman ang mandato ng National Anti-Poverty Commission na ang mga polisiya na magkakaroon ng epekto sa mga mahihirap ay dapat pag-aralang mabuti at talakayin kasama po ang batayang sektor, ang pamahalaang lokal at ang national government. So yun po ang posisyon ng NAPC. Maraming salamat po.
Madam Chair, I'd like to give NAPC another chance kasi po parang wala po akong narinig na stand doon dahil nga po ang lead agency sana to ensure na hindi lalong nababurden at nabibigyan nga natin ng assistance, di ba? Para makatayo din lalo yung ating mga mahihirap, yung NAPC. So again po, I'd like to pose the question. Sa ngayon, ano ang opinion ng NAPC sa dagdag na mga buwis na makakaapekto sa mahihirap?
Go ahead, Secretary Santos.
Yeah, as I said, Madam Chair, the position of the NAPC should be discussed properly in the commission and whatever the position and decision of the NAPC as a commission together with the basic tech sector shall be relayed accordingly. Sa NAPC Secretariat, our mandate is to facilitate and recommend converge policy programs for poverty reduction program. So, mahirap pong magsabi kaagad ng posisyon sapagkat kailangan po namin itong pag-aralan ng mabuti. Subalit, ang proteksyon para sa mga hirap ay sisiguraduhin po ng NAPC na papanindigan po ito.
Madam Chair, kaya po nais kong mahingan agad ng posisyon ang NAPC kasi nandyan na ang mga proposals for taxes na pwedeng pasanin ng mga mahihirap. Ngayon po, if we have all sorts of whole of nation in various problems, bakit po para bang hindi ko maramdaman yung whole of nation in terms of addressing poverty? Lalo na po, nandyan naman sana yung NAPC para magbigay ng kanilang opinion. We invite NAPC sa ating mga deliberation sa mga panukalang batas na may epekto po sa mga mahihirap. So, when can we expect at the soonest time possible na makapagbigay po sa atin, sa opisina natin, ng position paper ang NAPC?
Madam Chair, Ang NAPSI po ay aktibong lumalahok sa mga pagdinig dito sa Kongreso at kasama namin dito ang mga batayang sektor at kami po ay opisyal na nagbibigay ng mga posisyon sa mga panukalang batas. Kung meron bang mga panukalang batas dito, ito po ay aming pinag-uusapan at para po sa ito po ay daglian naming tutugunan. We have to review all the proposals. I just don't have the information right now of the proposed bills that are pending here and for discussion within the NAPSI framework and convergent platforms. But Madam Chair, we will send soonest whatever decisions or positions that we have at the moment.
Madam Chair, ganito na lang po.
I know I yielded the floor, but being
Go
the
ahead.
supervising agent department,
Yes, go ahead.
the good
Secretary.
congressman can be assured that when the House of Congress calls for individual hearings on these proposed measures, we will see to it that the department, together with its attached and supervised agencies, will provide you the necessary position papers, but we would like to do it on a very specific manner rather than holistically saying new taxes. So if the good congressman has a couple of tax measures already in mind that he wants NAPSI or the department to comment on, we will make sure to submit those position papers either to his office or through the proper committee that is going to vet those measures. But on number two, the mother department, the NAPSI is always engaged in coming up with policy frameworks. But the department is the lead agency when it comes to fighting poverty. A couple of those initiatives that we showed a while ago are new initiatives that will go outside the box. Number one, to end hunger. At this point, we have 1 million Filipino families who are food poor. And that's why we decided to come up with a new intervention geared towards that very targeted segment. There are other interventions from the department, as mentioned in those slides, and I'm sure the good congressman will also be reading through them, and we will make ourselves available to an audience or through a meeting so that we can clarify the details of our other anti-poverty interventions from the mother department. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah. Madam Chair, ito po simpleng tanong na lang for me to end this topic and move on to another. Has the DOF consulted NAPSI or DSWD on its prospects of proposing taxes that can burden the poor?
We are always consulted, and we continue to discuss and talk with them. In fact, ongoing po yung mga pag-uusap na yon, and I'm very sure that in all those measures that are being proposed or will be proposed, the lens of the poor, especially the most vulnerable, will always be taken into the picture before measures are proposed. Simulations are always run, and always tinitignan natin yung sa point of view ng ating mga mahihirap. Kaya lagi po kaming kinukonsulta.
Okay, so it has na-consult po. Okay. Pangalawang topic po, Madam Chair, ay yung bulto ng mga assistance programs para sa mga former rebel surrenderies. I'd like to ask Madam Chair, for 2022, magkano po ang allotment for all these programs sa GAA at magkano na yung nagastos noong 2022?
Madam Chair, again, let me contextualize the answer. There are two types. Meron ho yung mga what they call decommissioning grants that are given, and those come from the OPA-PRU, and they are just downloaded to the department because we have the boots on the ground. That can be located in the GAA provision of the OPA-PRU. Pero ang nasa amin po are the reintegration, other support measures after they are given the grants. What happens next? So sa amin ho, meron kaming specialized program na Sustainable Livelihood Program na under the Pamana program. When it comes to reintegration, they're all spread across the different programs of the department. Meron ho tayong matatagpuan tulad ng sinabi ko kanina na nasa Kalahi Seeds. Meron ho tayong matatagpuan sa Sustainable Livelihood Program. Meron din ho tayong naka-lodge sa mismong Project Management Bureau when it comes to social protection. So these are the components or the tracks. And in fact, even in disaster management, funds are set aside for these vulnerable or conflict areas. For the Sustainable Livelihood Program, there's a track for our former militants or combatants, rather. Let me paraphrase that. For 2022, the financial allocation is 256,164,956. For 2023, for the same SLP program, it has been allocated 312,070 million. So ito yung sa track natin in providing sustainable livelihood for our communities or individuals who used to be former combatants.
For 2024, Madam Chair, magkano ang proposed budget for the SLP?
SLP, Madam Chair, let me qualify, SLP as a whole or SLP po that pertains to this segment?
I'm pertaining po dun sa SLP for the former rebels or yung mga rebel surrenderies.
Okay, Yusek Alan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dito po sa 2023, meron po tayong 228 million grants for EO70. And then for 2024,
Madam Chair, let me take over.
Yes.
For this
Go ahead.
particular track for 2024, it's 223,752,040.
Sorry, Madam Chair, can I ask that to be repeated?
For the current... Okay. Yeah. For the Sustainable Livelihood Program for 2024, for the former combatants, it's at 223,725,040.
Okay. Madam Chair, I'd like to ask also, dahil ang SLP ay isa lamang doon sa maraming programs in line with the EO70 or in coordination sa NTF-LCAC. Nandyan din yung Pamana, Kalahi Seeds, SLP, pati yung meron pa pati Cash for Work, etc. No, Madam Chair, hingin ko na lang po as data request sa DSWD, lahat po ng yon, magkano yung budget from 2022 until yung proposal po for 2024, tas magkano din yung nagastos from out of the total budget allotted for those.
Madam Chair, the department will gladly furnish the good congressman the data that's disaggregated for SLP and all those sub-programs pertaining to former combatants.
Yeah. Madam Chair, ito lang po, specifically for 2023, kasi nasa Memorandum Circular number 2, series of 2022 ng DSWD na dapat ay merong monthly reports from the regional counterparts. So, meron po ba tayong ganitong compilation ng mga monthly reports ng pagkaka-implement ng ganitong mga programs?
As in all programs, there will always be reports, lalo na yung terminal reports, and we will gladly also, Madam Chair, furnish the good congressman the reports pertaining to these programs that he has mentioned na nakatuon sa mga former combatants po natin.
Yes, our office and of course yung committee, Madam Chair, would be glad to receive copies of those. Ang next question ko po, Madam Chair, ano po ang naging mga hakbang ng ahensya para ma-resolve yung usapin ng pagkakaroon kasi ng mga hindi naman talaga totoong surrenderies doon sa listahan, in particular sa ECLIP tsaka sa livelihood settlement grants? Dahil po, ito naman ay part ng COA report noong 2020 na may mga listahan talaga na hindi verified, hindi ma-confirm kung totoo bang mga rebels yung mga iyon. So as part of improving the process or pagtitiyak natin na nagagamit talaga ng maayos yung pondo, ano po yung mga naging internal na pag-aayos ng DSWD?
Madam Chair, let me just clarify that the list of these former combatants do not come from the department, but rather come from OPAPRU and the and LCAC, depending on which program. The department has no way of verifying it again and again because we don't have that technical expertise. That is not our mandate and it is not in our jurisdiction. We rely on these specialized agencies to give us, we would assume regularity in the list that they give us because we would assume that they have the data and that they have gone through the vetting process. Ang sa amin lang po is to make sure that we do the payout, we do the support programs, and we do the case management after.
Madam Chair, I would strongly suggest to DSWD na hindi po mag-presume ng regularity given nga po na multiple instances nang nakita na hindi po talaga reliable yung mga listahan. Kahit po random sampling, no? Ako may background po ako sa math, I think pwede ko ma-suggest yun, mag-conduct ng random sampling ang DSWD para man lang ma-check natin yung listahan. Would DSWD be willing to take on such suggestion?
Madam Chair, that is something that we will look into, but off the bat, we don't have the technical expertise nor the know-how to go about such. Our social workers are tasked to do the post rather than the pre, and for us to go about doing that will be saddling our social workers with more work that is beyond them already. But rest assured, we will look into it. We will talk to the partner agencies, take it up with them to see the severity of this notion. But just as a footnote though, the department would always take a position of regularity given that we all work from the executive department, and for us to start questioning the validity of their reports will cause friction among the departments, more so that again, they have the technical expertise and we do not have the technical expertise. Kami naman po ang departamento na marunong rin umamin kung hindi namin alam at hindi namin kaya, kesa po magmagaling kami sa isang bagay na hindi namin kaya naman.
Madam Chair, to end the topic, dahil nga napatunayan na meron talagang mga pinapalitaw na rebelde di umano, pero hindi naman, at gawa-gawa, photoshopan ng mga picture. And dahil budget po ng DSWD ang pinag-uusapan, the agency should ensure na nagagamit wisely yung pera para talaga sa mga intended na beneficiaries. Now, last point, Madam Chair, ay magkano naman yung budget natin for educational assistance?
Can that be your last question as well?
That would be the last, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, there is no if you look at our general appropriation or the menu or the items, there is no specific entry for educational assistance that is embedded in our assistance to individuals in crisis situation. Hindi ho siya standalone program, but rather kasama ho siya sa menu ng AIX po natin.
Yeah. So to cap, Madam Chair, I really hope na mapalawak pa natin yung coverage ng educational assistance under AIX, and I as youth representative would strongly support na madagdagan po ang pondo para sa educational assistance dahil sobrang kailangan po ito ng ating mga kabataan. And of course, with improved mechanisms from DSWD para po maging efficient yung distribution. Yan lang. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Rep. Manuel. Now to our last minority member to ask question, Congresswoman Arlene Brosas, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maraming salamat, Madam Chair. Greetings to Secretary Rex, ayan, at the DSWD family. Madam Chair, I have questions on the 4Ps particular and the food stamps. Madam Chair, as of August 2023, ilan na po yung total number of the listed 4Ps members natin? Ano po yung naging proseso sa pagtatanggal sa kanila? Kasi may mga report na biglaan, walang paghahanda para sa mga benepisyaryo sa sinasabing pag-graduate at nagkagulatan, no? Hindi nila alam na wala na sa 4Ps. Yun po yung mga reports na nakakarating sa amin.
Madam Chair, thank you for that very timely question. As shown in the slides a while ago and in the narrative, there is a low utilization rate for the 4Ps program at this point in time because we impose a moratorium on the delisting. The Congresswoman is correct. There was a large swath of 4Ps beneficiaries that were delisted, pero it wasn't haphazardly done by anybody. Sumunod po sa proseso yon. Let me just give you a time context. In 2019, listahan ng 2019-2020, listahan ng 3 was conducted. Those were the COVID lockdown years. Now, in that point, I'll just give you the rough numbers, ma'am. Meron ho tayong 700,000 na hindi na-evaluate at all. They were not evaluated because nga nag-lockdown na and our evaluators couldn't go out. Number 2, there were 700,000 that were initially tagged as non-poor dahil nga they no longer meet the indicators in the Proximins test. But after the lockdown, the 700,000 came back to the department and said, after the COVID, humira po kami ulit. And rightfully so. Alam naman natin na yung dating nakalabas na sa kahirapan, bumabalik sa kahirapan dahil sa lockdown at sa masamang effect ng lockdown. Secretary and your colleague now, Congressman Tulfo, had the good sense in him and the heart in him to order a reassessment of these 2 groups na lumalabas 1.4 million. He did it because he believed that yun na nga, iba na ang litrato ng kahirapan, kaya dapat revisitahin natin sila. So namana po natin yon, yung proseso na yon, and come May of this year, unfortunately, a big chunk pa rin nila, 55%, no? Si Maris. Close to 55% of those pa rin, are coming out na non-poor pa rin. So despite the fact na binisita na natin sila ulit, ginamit na natin yung Proximins test ulit, hindi pa rin ho natin nakaka-capture. On the ground, the regional directors are saying, mahirap pa rin ho tong taong to. But we also have to remember not to go to the very technical side of it. The Proximins test is very math-based and very table-oriented, meaning, ano lang yan, it's a tool that's widely accepted, but in this case of circumstances, hindi niya na-capture because nag-iba nga yung anyo ng kahirapan. So what did we do to answer your question? Madam Chair, we put a moratorium on delisting. The 1.4 million Filipinos right now are no longer being tagged as non-poor, and instead, we all agreed in the department to use another tool that is inside the department for years already. It's called the SWD, the Social Welfare Development Indicators. Ano ho ang SWD? Ang SWD po ay dinesign ng ating mga social workers years ago na may Proximin siya, pero meron rin ho siyang case management na kasama. Ibig sabihin, it's a Proximins test. Ang favorite line ko dyan, it's a Proximins test that puts emotional coefficients to it. May puso ho siya. So right now, we are doing the SWD test to the 1.4 million Filipinos to make sure, Filipino families, to make sure that they actually are poor or not poor. And that's why in my presentation earlier, we said, antayin po natin na umabot ang end of September, which is the deadline, and that's where we will be able to give you a full idea kung ilan pa ho ang madidilis. Pero right now, wala ho tayong dinilis currently because nga we found out that Proximins test is not capturing the true essence of poverty post-COVID.
Yes, thank you very much, Secretary, Madam Chair, for clarifying that, na nakamoratorium, right? Hintayin natin ang September. Yan ang...
Madam Chair, yes. Tama ho si Congresswoman. Antayin ho natin ang end of September kasi as we speak right now, ang ating mga city link, municipal link, social workers, umiikot po sila ngayon to conduct the SWD. The SWD is a case management tool. Meron ho siyang human coefficient to it or emotional coefficient to it.
Yes, Madam Chair, kasi yan ang guest ng ating question ay kung nakagraduate, ano yung inyong mga dahilan, parang ganon, kung bakit requirements, kung ganon. No? Kasi kung sinasabing nakagraduate, tapos kung umunlad yung buhay, anong qualifier nun kung umunlad yung buhay, di ba? Yun yung mga gusto nating malaman. And Madam Chair, parang, kasi actually yung listahan ng 3 matagal naman na nating pinag-uusapan, di ba? 5.59 million ang bilang ng mahihirap na Pilipino ngayon. So hindi naman talaga siya, kung 4.4 pa rin yung 4Ps, under the 4Ps, kung ano pa rin yung dati, no? Bakit tayo nagbabawas? Parang 'di ba, ang hirap isipin na nagbabawas ka samantalang papataas ng papataas ang bilang ng mahihirap mo.
Madam Chair, to answer that question, whenever somebody graduates, there are various reasons. Meron hong natural attrition based on the law, 7 years. There are some na talagang naaalis sa programa dahil hindi sumusunod sa conditionalities. Pero kapag nag-aalis po tayo, pinapalitan rin po natin yon. We have an existing database of waitlisted families who are needing to go into the program. Precisely po that there are exit mechanisms to the program para naman ho maka-accommodate ho tayo ng mga iba pang pamilya na maaring nangangailangan po. But just the same, right now there is a moratorium. The National Steering Advisory Council of the 4Ps all agreed, it's an interagency council, all agreed na i-moratorium muna natin, and we use the SWD to really capture once and for all the essence of poverty post-COVID.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I will be waiting for the list. No? Sana meron tayong malinis na list. Yun naman ang sinabi ninyo, by the end of September ay magkakaroon tayo.
Madam Chair, unfortunately, I am not sure. Let me check if I can give you the list na may mga pangalan because of data privacy laws.
Can you give me at least yung mga nag-graduate na sinasabi ninyo and the reasons para doon, Madam Chair?
Chair, let me just check on if we are allowed to give individual members a list. But remember, meron hong oversight naman ho ang Congress in this law. And we will make sure that we comply with the oversight of that committee that oversees the program. We are mandated in the law to provide Congress annual reports or semi-annual reports to make sure that we appraise them on the progress of the program. Madam Chair, maybe I can kindly indulge the good congressman to work through that committee so that she can get the necessary documentation that she needs. Except that the only reason why, but let me check again with the legal department if this will be covered by the data privacy, because giving out individual information, even of graduates, might not be allowed on a individual request. But as Congress as a whole, we will make sure that we provide Congress with all the necessary reports detailed in the law.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Pwede naman yun na yung buong report, Madam Chair. Kasi ang gusto nating malaman dito, totoo bang umunlad yung buhay ng mga sinasabing graduate na-graduate na sa DSWD. And I'm sure you would like to know kung merong mga case talaga na gano'n, na ang mga kababayan natin hindi nakakaangat talaga. No, hindi porke graduate na sila or there are reasons na ganito, hindi naman talaga nag-a-apply sa baba, no? Madam Chair, tapusin ko lang kasi sa SWS survey, 14 million households consider themselves poor. So ibig sabihin, etong mga poor na dati, hindi naman talaga yon nakaka-graduate agad-agad. Hindi yun nakakalagpas. No? Parami yung bilang ng mahihirap na Pilipino. Dagdag pasanin natin yung patuloy na pagtaas ng bilihin. Kaya sa tingin po namin, talagang kailangan ayusin natin kung paano yung programa ng 4Ps. Imbis na bawasan, dagdagan natin. Actually, yung pa nga yung request na gusto natin the beneficiaries na nangangailangan ng tulong ay madagdagan. Madam Chair.
Sa answer to that, ulitin ko po, we are always in support of notions or moves to add to the 4Ps members, but we are also capped in the GAA by 4.4 million. Pero rest assured that whenever we do delist a family, a next family that is waiting, nasabi nyo na nga ho, malaki yung pangangailangan compared sa available, napakarami rin ho sa departamento na nagpa-follow up kung kailan sila makakapasok. Exiting somebody doesn't necessarily mean hindi na ho siya mapapalitan. Hindi ho siya binabawasan. This is the classic case of mababawasan pero mapapalitan. Hindi ho necessarily pag zero-sum game to na pag may inalis na, yung numero hindi na ho tataas ulit. But again, we are always supportive and we will always push for adding more 4Ps members if the budget allows.
Yes, Madam Chair, okay naman yung sinasabi ni Secretary, pero syempre, Sa baba talaga yung problema, no? Yung mga cases talaga ng mga kababayan natin. And as much as possible, hindi nga nagbabawas, kundi nagdadagdag, parang ganyan. Ano? Madam Chair, I will go on to my next questions. Ito yung tungkol po sa food stamp program. No? Madam Chair, ano-ano yung mga DSWD accredited retailers na pwedeng paggamitan itong electronic benefit transfer cards ng food stamp program?
Madam Chair, at this point, we are only running it in a pilot. The pilot is fully funded by the ADB through a $3 million grant. And sila po ang nag-a-accredit kasi the money doesn't go to the department, but from ADB, it goes straight to the WFP or the World Food Program. We created the design with them, pero sila ho ang implementing ng lahat. Pero at this point, ang ginagamit natin sa pilot sites are ang mga kadiwa ng mga pangulo, ang kadiwa ng mga pangulo na pinatatakbo ng mga agri-co-ops. Kasama po sa programa na to yung creating a whole ecosystem of farm to table. Alam po natin na marami sa ating mga magsasaka, 40 to 30% of them ay nababahagi rin sa mahihirap nating sektor. Kaya nga napaka-importante na we provide the necessary marketplace for them. Ang mandato ng ating Pangulo nung kanyang binigyan yung provisional na approval niya para sa programa na to, siguraduhin na yung mga maliliit nating mga kadiwa ng mga Pangulo, yung mga kadiwa na standalone na ang nagpapatakbo, mga agri-co-ops, pati na rin yung ating mga MSME ang magiging una sa ecosystem na tinatayo natin kung saan tayo hahango ng saan hahango ang ating mga beneficiaries ng kanilang bibilin. Pero right now, Madam Chair, it's just the kadiwa ng mga Pangulo run by agri-co-ops and farmers ang ginagamit.
So, Madam Chair, I believe na 3,000 kada buwan ang ibibigay na food credit sa ilalim ng FSP. Maari bang malaman anong batayan ng 3,000? Kasi sa taas ng presyo ng mga bilihin, sa totoo lang, hindi naman sasapat yung 3,000. Maaring tumagal lang din ito ng 2 linggo sa isang pamilya.
Madam Chair, first of all, the department will always rely on our data crunchers sa Philippine Statistics Authority. At this point, nung nagpa-orient kami sa kanila, ang definition pa rin ng food poor ay ang mga pamilya na aayon sa PSA na hindi kumikita na lalagpas sa 8,000 kada buwan. Ang layunin po ng programa, alam po namin, ma'am, Madam Chair, hindi kakasya ang pondo ang food credits na binibigay natin. Pero ang layunin natin is merely supplemental. Tulungan natin ho sila. Pero hindi ho natin kakayanin dahil sa limited resources na ibigay yung buong amount sa kanila.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. 8,000 pababa kada buwan yung may income na gano'n.
And exact, Madam Chair, it's 8,379.
Okay. Madam Chair, kasi sa 3,000 food credit, dagdag na 100 piso lamang ito kada araw sa isang pamilya. Ganon technically, no? Tapos kung 5 kayong miyembro, 20 pesos lamang ito sa kada pamilya. So I understand supplemental, wala naman po tayong problema. Pero sa interpellation ko nga po ng nakaraan sa kaugnay sa job generation natin at employment and employment rate na meron tayo ngayon, talagang marami pa rin po walang trabaho or non-formal work at saka yung So it's good na may supplemental pero
Madam Chair, if I may
yes.
add, the food basket was created by the FNRI, the Food and Nutrition Research Institute. In fact, they have cookbooks kung saan yung ingredients na nilagay nila na pagpipilian, they can run meals for as low as 85 pesos to 65 pesos. Madam Chair, we will gladly furnish the committee these really great cookbooks that the FNRI has spent time researching. In addition to this, Madam Chair, the Pilipinas Contra Gutom movement, which is powered by the private sector, sila po yung mga tutulong sa atin i-conduct yung nutrition development sessions natin. Sa programa na to, ang layunin natin, mabago natin yung behavioral change, magkaroon ng behavioral change na mapaunawa natin sa ating mga kababayan na ang mura pwede naman maging masarap, pwedeng maging masustansya. Even the private sector na ngayon ay partner natin sa programa na to, meron din silang mga computations at calculations at actual real-world cookbooks na nagpapakita na itong binibigay natin, bagamat hindi kalakihan, ay sasapat na supplemental po.
Madam Chair, may we have yung FNRI study na yan? Kasi sa ngayon po, sa kantin nga lang, 130 pesos po yung kailangan namin para makabili ng isang meal, Madam Chair. So, may we have na lang yung
Madam
copy
Chair,
po nung
Then, gladly send over to the committee the cookbooks and the studies made by FNRI, together with the ones made by the private sector. who are helping us run the food development sessions.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, i-quote ko lang yung sinabi ni Undersecretary Edu Punay noong June 3. Sinabi niya po na under the food stamp program, beneficiaries will be required to acquire jobs. DSWD Edu Punay on June 3 said that food stamps beneficiaries will need to have jobs to lessen their dependence on government aid. Ito pong pagsasabi na ganito, kasi ibig sabihin hindi magka-qualify yung mga wala talagang trabaho.
Madam Chair, let me just put the whole, sometimes po na nandito si Undersecretary Punay, it might have been taken out of context. Ang whole program ho natin, katulad sa mga ibang food stamp program abroad, may work component siya. We don't want to breed another culture of mendicacy wherein it's all about dole-outs na lang. There's conditions to the program. One, hindi o kailangan may trabaho ka, kundi tutulungan ka namin makahanap ng trabaho. We are partnering up with TESDA that a upskilling session, umattend ka ng upskilling session and get a certification, that's already compliance. Then second, you go to a job fair run by DOLE, even if you don't land a job, but the important thing is they issue you a certification that you were there and you tried to find a job. Pag wala pa rin, ulit-ulit tayo. Paikutin na naman natin ulit sa TESTA, baka naman we need to retool. The whole program is about capacity building na pagdating sa 4 na taon, pag exit nila sa programa, meron na rin ho silang sustainable na mga trabaho. That's the other condition to it. So hindi naman ibig sabihin na pag wala kang trabaho, hindi ka kasama. Quite the contrary, tutulungan ka ng programa sa pamamagitan ng mga ibang ahensya na kasama namin na magkaroon ka ng sapat na kakayanan, kaalaman para magkatrabaho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, pero nag-stand pa rin yung kailangan may income na 8,000 pababa. So meron ganun, ano?
Madam, a while ago, Madam Chair, we showed you the template of how we want to do things, hopefully in the department, na ang lahat ng programa, una, targeted, pangalawa, may kondisyon, pangatlo, na susukat, pang-apat, may exit na mekanismo. Alam natin na kung hindi limitado ang resources, pwede natin bigyan lahat. Pero ngayon, kailangan natin mag-target dahil limited ang resources. So lumapit po kami sa PSA at pina-identify natin na sino ba ang mga food poor. At naaayon sa PSA, that's the minimum threshold of income for na pag mababa ka doon, hindi ka nasa survival, kundi below survival level ka. So that is the baseline na gagamitin natin sa pag-target na mga magiging beneficiaryo ng programa na to.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, yung FSP kasi funded dito ng grants, right? ADB, JICA, French Development Agency, nagtototal siya ng $3 million, tama ba?
Madam Chair, the pilot is funded by the grants from ADB and those funds stated by the good Congresswoman. As to what will happen next, we have to wait for the pilot results or the terminal reports. Ayaw namin pangunahan na kaagad mas-scale up. We really have to respect the process of coming up with a pilot kung saan po sinusukat yung impact. Nakakamit ba natin yung impact na gusto natin?
Kong Arlene,
So, Madam Chair, last
may I remind you, that should be your last question.
Yes, Madam Chair. Siguro yung lang sa 4-piece food stamp program kasi targeted, maliit, hanggang kailan ito popondohan? Tapos, hanggang kailan po ba ito popondohan?
Madam Chair, let me just qualify. You said 4-piece food stamp program. Which are we talking about, the FSP?
Yes, the FSP.
The FSP's pilot run will run for 6 months lamang po. After which, we will get the impact assessment and the terminal report, and that will be submitted to the President so that we can update him on whether or not the goals were met. In scaling up a program, naniniwala kami, dapat sukatin muna natin sa pilot, hindi yung pasok po tayo ng pasok kaagad.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Gusto rin naman nating malaman kung talagang effective ito kasi hindi rin naman talaga natin gusto ng band-aid solutions. At the end of the day, gusto po natin palakasin yung agrikultura natin, lokal na produksyon, industriya na sariling atin, para talagang, di ba, dagdag na sahod, likha ng trabaho, yun naman talaga yung kailangan natin for the long run. At hindi band-aid solution lang. Madam Chair, may mga ilang tanong lang ako. Gusto ko lang mapasagot po kaugnay dun sa solo parents kasi kanina ko lang. Wala pa pong naibibigay dahil wala pang DILG memo. Tama po ba? Kasi as of last na nagkaroon ng IRR signing po niya noong September 29, 2002, hanggang ngayon, yung Expanded Solo Parent Act, hindi maibigay-bigay ang 1,000 pesos para sa mga LGUs na nangangailangan dahil wala pa ring DILG memo at walang maire-release ang DSWD, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, again, let me qualify that statement. Patuloy po kaming nakipag-ugnayan sa DILG para malabas na ho yung guidelines from their end. Pero yung hindi naman ho DSWD yung magbibigay ng pondo, kundi yung LGU po. So I'm not very sure what the good congresswoman meant na walang naibibigay ang DILG. Dahil hindi po kami ang magbibigay nun, subject to fund availability. I believe it's in the GAD budgets of the LGUs. Pero makakaasa po kayo, Madam Chair, na patuloy naming makipag-ugnayan sa DILG at sa madaling panahon, lalabas na ho yung guideline na yun.
Yes, Madam Chair, but you have the work ng, sa implementation po nito, kailangan pong i-oversee ng DSWD. It is very clear doon po sa batas. Kaya ako po tinatanong, kasi yung status report po ito ng educational benefits, 10% VAT discount on baby's milk, supplements at iba pa. At malaking bagay po ito para sa mga solo parents natin, kaya natin tinatanong yan. Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, tama ho si Congresswoman, meron hong interagency monitoring naman ho na masiset up the moment this is implemented. We will make sure that we abide by the provisions of the law para masigurado natin na nasusukat ng mabuti at namomonitor na mabuti yung pag-implement on the ground ng mga local government unit.
Thank you. Lastly, Madam Chair, yung sa adolescent mothers
Arlene,
budget, kasi kami po
your time is
yung
up.
nakiusap na magkaroon ng 10 million budget para sa adolescent mothers dahil pataas ng pataas talaga yung bilang ng mga nabubuntis na bata pa. So, Madam Chair, at the proper time siguro, Madam Chair, kasi gusto sana naming ma-increase talaga yung budget na ito. Kasi from 10 million ng 2023, ganun pa rin hanggang ngayon. Samantalang increase yung issues ng mga batang ina. Yun. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sir, in closing, it is a non-recurring item in our budget, unfortunately. So we would ask Congress to help us put it back or even augment it because naniniwala po kami na napakalaking problema po nito.
Oo. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yun lang. Oo, sana maibalik natin dahil tinanggal. No? Wala sa budget ngayon ng DSWD itong 10 million. Thank you, Madam Chair, for clearing it all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kong Arlene. Now we're done with the minority, and we'd also like to hear some of the members of the majority to give their manifestation. Short, siguro 1 minute lang, no? So the first to give his manifestation is Congressman or Rep. Mark Go.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. At this point, I would like to simply congratulate the Department of Social Welfare and Development for doing an outstanding job since our Congressman Rex Gatchalian assumed the job as Secretary of the Department. And I would like also to thank him and the other officers of DSWD, including our Regional Director of CAR, R.D. Leo Quintilla, for supporting the city of Baguio. During the fire in Baguio that affected 1,600 stall owners, that was in March, a few hours after, we are already hearing from Secretary Rex on the support that DSWD will provide to the people of Baguio. This is also true during the recent typhoon that affected Baguio City. And I think we have no other words to express our sincerest thanks. And I know that he will continue doing this not only for the city of Baguio but also for the entire country. So having said that, Madam Chair, I would like to thank again our DSWD under the leadership of Secretary Rex and of course all the men and women of DSWD present today. So again, congratulations and thank you very much.
Thank you. And the next to give his manifestation of support and appreciation is Congressman J.J. Suarez. Okay, so let's move on. Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, our dear chairperson. I am not going to interpolate, as this representation always upholds the long-time tradition that a member of Congress who is appointed as a cabinet member will not be questioned in the budget hearing, especially because our Secretary of DSWD was our colleague with DS Sid Ungab. 14 Congress, 15 Congress, and the 19th Congress before he was appointed as the Secretary. May I proceed, Madam Chair, for my manifestation?
Sir, go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman and our dear Secretary, the Constitution provides for social justice and social order. We have a declaration of principles and state policies which guides the Department of Social Welfare and Development. Section 10 provides that the state shall promote a just and dynamic social order. Free the people from poverty, Section 10 exact words. Followed by Section 11, Madam Chair and Secretary Rex, the state shall promote social justice. And that is why a Department of Social Welfare was created to assure our people that an agency of government takes care to allow assistance and to be able to bring our people from massive poverty to be able to live and have their own livelihood and lives. President Ramon Magsaysay said, those who are blessed in law, as those who are blessed in life, should have more in law. I would amend that today. Those who are blessed in life should have more, period. It is DSWD that mandates this by giving more assistance to those in need. And that is why, on behalf of the City of Cagayan de Oro, the 2nd District, we express our gratitude to Secretary Rex Gatchalian for an excellent leadership of this department, tasked to be able to serve the poorest of the poor of our people. What have they given? First, assistance to individuals in crisis situation. This is an emancipating assistance because no money for burial, no money for medical assistance. AICS, given to Cagayan de Oro. Second, sustainable livelihood program. Thank you, Secretary, for having this particular program implemented. 4Ps. You know, our 4Ps in Cagayan de Oro receive regularly. And also these indigent senior citizens. So the people of Cagayan de Oro would kneel and pray in the night to thank the DSWD. And that is why today, I, the representative of the 2nd District, have to bring the sentiment of our people. So Secretary Rex, continue to serve our people. There you are now coming up with the food stamps. Please include Cagayan de Oro for food stamps. We are so many projects undertaken. And I cannot end this particular manifestation without thanking your most outstanding regional director, Director Ramel Hamen. Please take a bow in this plenary hall. From the very start when he was assigned there, we worked together. That is why everybody served in Cagayan de Oro. With that, Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, I move at the proper time. Not only to approve the budget of Secretary Rex Gatchalian, DSWD, but to increase the budget as we need more of social services and social assistance to our people. Thank you very much. Godspeed, our dear Secretary, our own colleague, our very own Secretary Rex Gatchalian. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. I think that's also the sentiment of a lot of our members. So maybe I call on Congressman Jose Bong Teves for his manifestation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to manifest my full support to the budget of DSWD under the leadership of our former colleague, Secretary Rex Gatchalian. Napakarami na po niyang natulungan at sigurado po ako marami pa po siyang matutulungan, lalong-lalo na kung dadagdagan pa ang budget ng DSWD. Maraming salamat po.
Tapos na? Okay, go. Sorry. Okay. Next, may I call in Congressman J.J. Romualdo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Except my manifestation was in support with the manifestation of Honorable Edsel Lagman. that we can dispense with the budget of DSWD except NCIP, Madam Chair, Your Honor.
Second, Madam Chair.
Okay. Wala pa. There are other members who wish to manifest as well. So may I call in Congressman Eric Martinez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Magandang hapon, magandang umaga sa ating lahat. Secretary Rex, my support to the DSWD budget. Sana kung madadagdagan pa, much better. And I would be talking not as a member of Congress, but as your Vice Mayor. Mayor, Secretary, and for all of you, I'd like to manifest his relentless pursuit for public service. The young, energetic secretary. To borrow the words of George W. Bush, read my lips. He will deliver. He will deliver for this nation. My support, Secretary.
Okay, thank you very much. Next is Congressman Gus Tambunting. You're recognized.
Maraming salamat, Madam Chair. Mukhang nagmamahalan si Secretary Gatchalian at saka si Congressman Martinez. Mukhang talaga mabigat. Anyway, ako po bumabati ng isang magandang umaga kay Secretary Rex Gatchalian at ang kanyang pamilya, ang DSWD family. Ako po ang mamaya na ko lalapit at ibibigay po yung aking pakiusap. Pero unang-una ay gusto ko po talaga magpasalamat. Dahil sa 2nd District ng lungsod ng Parañaque ay walang sawang tumutulong ang DSWD kasama si Norma, ang inyong inassign ho sa 2nd District ng Parañaque at saka si Bea ay lagi po sila nandun pag tinatawag. Katunayan, kasi ho talagang inaaskaso ko sila mabuti at kung kumain ho sila 5 beses ang araw. Okay? Kasi ang dream ko ho na yung dalawang yan, pagkatapos ng term nila, pag nag-retiro yan sa akin, kasing sexy ko na yung dalawang yan. Okay, yan ang dream ko. Kaya sabi ko, 5-6 na best kayo kumain, okay lang. Pero ay gusto ko lang maservisyo at tinatapos nila. Minsan, naabot sila ng alas 8, alas 9 ng gabi sa 2nd District ng Parañaque, pero talagang hindi ho sila nagreklamo. Tinatapos na, inuubos sila, maski na umuulan, nandun sila. And I'd like to congratulate your leadership. I wish you all the best. That I know that with the Rex Gatchalian on top of the SWD, marami pong mangyayari. Talagang makikinabang dito ang ating kapwang Pilipino, ang ating bayan. Congratulations. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Congress. Next is Congresswoman Promesias Agabas. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My dear colleagues to the DSWD family, sa ating pong lahat, magandang umaga. Well, in behalf of the people of the 6th District of Pangasinan, nandito po ako para magpasalamat sa inyo pong lahat sa DSWD. Hindi po kami magpapatalo sa Region 1. Director Lala Gopalan, tumayo nga ho kayo, andyan. Kasama ko si DS Christine, ang Region 1. Maraming salamat sa tulong sa mga mamamayan ng Region 1 nitong nagdaang EGAY. And sa lahat ho ng programa ninyo na tunay na nararamdaman ng tao. Sa aming distrito, kahit sabihin mong 1,000 lang yan o 100 lang, kung ang tao ay talagang walang pera, wala talagang pera. Pero dahil ho sa DSWD, yung mga pangangailangan sa burial, mga medical, hindi man po ganung kalakihan, pero sa panahon ng pangangailangan, tunay pong nararamdaman ng tao. So, papalakpakan ko po kayo sa ngalan po ng aming distrito. And again, maraming salamat din po sa lahat, sa SLP, sa assistance sa mga indigent senior citizens, sa feeding program. Maraming salamat. Isa lang po, may appeal po si Congressman Rufus kanina. Ganon din po ang appeal ko. Sa 6th District po ng Pangasinan, may bago po kayong programa. Sana po masama din po ang distrito namin sa food stamp. So, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you very much po sa ating lahat. Mabuhay po kayo sa DSWD. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next to manifest is Congresswoman Rachel Cutie Del Mar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to say thank you to our friend here, Secretary Rex. Cebu City has been very happy to have you as our secretary. You have the kindest heart, and I must say, our very favorite DSW secretary ever. Thank you for everything.
Thank you, Cutie. And next, we have Congressman Kaimer Olaso to make his manifestation.
Thank you, Ma'am. To Secretary, my former colleague in 19 Congress, thank you so much, Secretary. Thank you for helping Region 9. I would like to acknowledge the President of our Regional Director, RD Ridwan. Thank you for always helping Zamboanga City. Though sabi ko, I have a little concern, but I'll talk to you directly later on. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Madam Chair,
Thank you very much, Kong Olaso. And-
Madam Chair, I will just want to reiterate my motion to dispense with the budget of DSWD except NCIP. Madam Chair, I so
Second,
move,
Madam Chair.
Yes, there's a motion to terminate briefing except, and it's a touch agency except NCIP, and it has been seconded.
Madam Chair, on the part of the majority, we accept the motion to terminate.
Madam Chair, on the part of the minority, I would like to support the motion of the majority to terminate the budget briefing of the DSWD.
It has been moved and seconded, so the motion is carried. And the budget briefing of DSWD and its attached agency, except NCIP, is hereby approved or terminated.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
May I make another motion? May I also move that we suspend consideration of the briefing of the NCIP until further notice.
Any second motion?
Second.
Okay, so there's,
Second.
it has been moved and seconded that we suspend the consideration of the briefing of NCIP until further notice. Therefore, this budget briefing is suspended.
Yeah.
I'd like to make an announcement here that those who wish to meet the DSWD family for their concerns, kindly proceed to Andaya Hall, because most of your regional directors and the officials, senior officials, will be there to accommodate your request and answer the issues.
Dito. Ito.